Hi guys, working on my Ford Explorer. I just did the driver's side, no, passenger side, front and back brakes and put rotors on the rear. Fronts are good. Now I got to do this side. So I got new caliper brackets for up front and slide pins and brake pads. So I'm going to show you how to do the front and back. They would be the same on each side, so I am not going to bore you with doing one side and then the other. Like I said, I already did the other side. So first thing I want to do is get the pins and the boots on the caliper bracket. So let's do that. Alright, the parts I got are the brake rubber boots for the sliders. They're made from Carlson. There's the part number. And this is what they look like. We'll get further into that. And then I got Rebastis brake pins, which it comes with the sliders and the bolts. And there's the part number. And caliper bracket. All this is from Rock Auto, just to let you know. Made by Cardone. And you take the old ones and you put them back in the box and you ship them back, and you get a core charge. It's like $6 or something like that. So save the box in your receipts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you step by step on through how to install these pins in the boots. And whenever you get your caliper bracket, they're going to send you some silicone grease in the box with it, just to let you know. But we will utilize what we have here. Hopefully I got it open. There's one part that there's a recess inside where the boot will go. You can see where on the boot the shape, it's going to sit down inside this recess, and that's what the booger is getting it on there. And then the other end of the boot is going to go up over this lip and lock in place. That's easy enough. Just reach down, grab hold of it, pull it up so far, and work your way around. Just be careful not to tear the rubber boot. As you see, and do that with both. There we go. Then I slide the boot all the way up as far as I can, and then we'll put lube on it. Like I said, don't be afraid not to use it, because you definitely don't want these seizing inside the caliper bracket. That's one of the reasons why I have new ones, because I attempted to do a brake job last week and found out that it wasn't going to happen. Couldn't get the old pin out. I tried heating it and beating on it, and nope. And I always like to take a little bit just to help that boot. Put inside the hole. And then I'm going to take, I like to slide it in and turn it while putting it in. And it's a lot easier to put these in now than it is when you put them on the vehicle, because if you bolt it down, you're going to have the head of the boat in the way, and you won't be able to fight with the boot to get it inside the housing. But I always like to start with one edge, try to get it worked into place, which you can see it's starting to go in there, and work my way around, which it just popped completely out. So let's start from this side, the bottom side. And once you get so far, you can see that it won't go in. Just give it a little bit of persuasion. I'm using a small screwdriver. I'm not pressing hard on the rubber because I don't want to tear it. That grease just ain't helping none either. Making my fingers slippery. In there. Nope. Get one side and the other side pops out. There, I think I got it that time. Oh, you bastard. Yeah. Yep, we got her that time. Now I'll do that with the same thing. I'm not going to bore you with doing it twice. I already broke the lug nuts loose. Jacked it up, got it on jack stands. Always put them on jack stands. Just don't rely on the jack whenever you're working underneath a vehicle or even taking the tire off. I like to kind of lay out everything I need beforehand, just so I ain't getting up and down to go get my tools. So I'm going to get this tire off and we'll go from there. After get the tire off, I turn the wheel a little bit so it makes it easier to get to the mounting bolts. Plus I hit them with blaster. Give me a little time to set up the camera and lighting. But first thing I like to do is to reach in and get these pistons pushed back just enough to where you can pull the caliper off once you get the bolts loose. But finding a place to bite hold of is the trick. See how that moves just a little bit. That should be enough whenever I get the bolts loose to slide the caliper off. And that first thing I want to do is I want to get these this bolt and this bolt off out of there, the slide bolts. We'll see how easy they come off. If not, they come loose pretty decently. Try not to get in the view of the camera. Now I got those bolts out, but you get new ones with the kit, so these are history. Now that I got those bolts out, the caliper should just work itself off. If you made enough room, I may need to pry a little more. And there. And the thing you want to do, which I have off to the side, you don't want to let these hang on the line. If you break that line, you're going to be back at fixing that dang thing. So next I want to do is I'm going to get these two mounting bolts off for the bracket. But that's outer pad ain't too bad. Still got some meat left. This is your wear indicator. Once that you can't see that virtually, their history. Inner pad, it's wore down. I see some grooving, which is not bad. I did not get front rotors, so that might be the next thing I gotta do. But I don't feel no ridge. It's smooth. Yeah, I can't feel ridge with my fingernail. But that's besides the point. Remove the clips because you're gonna, unless you got them with your brakes, you're gonna reuse them. And now, let's see if we can get mounting bolts off. Start with the bottom one. No, I don't have impacts, which bite. I have an air compressor, which I need to bring down here. This is my granddaughter's place. And she gave me usage permission to I don't know, use her garage anytime I wanted as I do repairs. Plus I'm going to have a project over the winter. I should have used an extension because of the ABS wire, but I didn't think of that. Now, if you're just going to change your calipers, these pins, they got to move in and out. That's what we just installed. That one's frozen. This one does move, but the boot's boogered. As you can see, it's not even in there. So I am glad that I decided to get new caliper brackets. Just less of a headache. Save these bolts, you're going to be reusing them. And that's the bracket. I'm putting the new bracket on. In the anti-seizure bolts, you will thank me. So I should take stock in anti-seize and Loctite, and maybe a pair of glasses. Get that started. There we go. Get the other bolt. And with a torque spec on this, I have no clue. I could look it up, but I always go by good and tight. I mean, it is a major part of the braking system, but you get a bolt that reach down by hand, it ain't gonna go nowhere unless you're a weakling and Okay. Now I'll get the clips put back on. Nope, wrong way. Make sure everything's seated. As you will have a little bit of a time getting your brake shoes. Something's not right here. This doesn't feel right for some reason right there. Let's see what's going on. Oh, that tang's bent. It's hitting the rotor. See how that one's straight? I just bend it back. Giving me a little bit of hassles here. I don't know why. Everything's looking straight. There, I went on that. I had to move the rotor out of the way. I put the inner pad in, but I always like to put anti-seize. I don't know what it is with anti-seize, me and myself. It's just wherever the caliper will be contacting the pads. I've seen over time, I've seen pads seize and rust to a caliper, but that was years ago. I haven't seen it. You don't see it very often, but I've seen it. But make sure your pads are seating flush against your rotor. Then the next thing we want to do is we got to squeeze the piston. Those rubber boots ain't looking good. I'll probably be doing putting calipers on this thing. What do you goddamn know? Never freaking fails. And then what I've always used, because the brake pads are junk. Okay, let me move the camera. Hopefully you can see that. Probably at the top of the screen, unfortunately. So I take a C-clamp, put it on. They have a tool especially for this. You can buy it at AutoZone or Riley's or wherever, but I've always used a C-clamp. But you push the piston in, and you got to move over here because you're only pushing one side in at a time. I guess the tool would come in handy if you just do both of them at the same time, I guess. I always look at why buy a tool when you don't freaking need it. Make do with what you got. And then whenever you are done with doing your brakes, remember you're pushing the fluid back into the system. Check your master cylinder tank. See if it overflowed, which it shouldn't have, because if you didn't add no fluid, and you shouldn't overflow the system. Okay, so now we'll remount the caliper. And these with these little rings. They set in a certain way inside the ends to keep that pin from pivoting when you're tightening the bolt. I've always seemed to find that setting them with the groove up and down usually works pretty good. If that one will stay there with the boot like that. So let's get this back on there. You want to pull these in. Yes, see how that sits down in the groove? There's like a little ear here. Then the new bolts, anti-seize. Anti-seize. I may just have to turn that pin. Yep, I'm going to turn that pin. Oh, come on. You bastard. There it is. Yeah, it's not wanting to start. That's telling me possibly the pin's not in the right area. There it goes. And we'll tighten these down. Click. It's torqued. Click. Alrighty, I got the back tire off. As you can see, it's pretty damn rusted. I did spray blaster on the bolts. Made a little mess, I don't care. Sprayed the rotor through the stud holes and around the lip here, which it needs a little bit of cleaning because there's corrosion, as you can see, that white shit. So I'm going to take my time and go around there and scrape all that off. I've had this car now 5 years, 6 years, might be 7 years, but it's and I've never had these off, so good luck with that, right? Took a little beating to get the other side off. So I'm just going to soak them on down, let them sit for a bit, and start on getting that caliper off. These bolts are 10mm, the elusive 10mm. Good luck finding your 10mm socket. I know all about it. So, we get those loose. And get that caliper off. Do the same thing as you did up front. Get in there, pry, loosen it up. Surprised that these bolts come out so easily. Then you'll have a little clip down here, a retaining clip. Just squeeze it in toward the caliper, and that should just rock up and out of the way. It took a little bit of beating. About wore me out. But I'm beating from over here. Move the dust shield back a little bit so I can get a bite on it. From over here and down here, just work your way all the way around. A little bit of crettage in there from, this was just covered with scaly rust. You can see my dust shield's rotting through. I guess I'm going to be doing more work in the future. Whew. So now, I'm going to take the new rotor, clean it up, and put that one on. Okay, this is the new rotor. And the emergency brake drum is built into the rotor itself. That's what the pads push against when you set the emergency brake. But when they ship this with a coating to keep it from rusting. So you want to get yourself a can of brake clean and give her a good cleaning. Both sides. Get that coating off, because if you don't, first time you lay the brakes down, applying the brakes, it's going to gum up the new brake shoes that you just installed, and then that can lead to premature wear, and you'll be back in here again later, which none of us want to do for a while. Anti-seize on, because that would definitely help next time, because I know I'm going to be getting back in here. Because if you look, the axle shaft is pretty bad, and I bet you if I ever have an issue with this bearing, because that's a Preston bearing, to get that nut off, I bet you I'm going to have to torch it. Get in there, blow his shit out, and probably be doing a lot of replacing of parts. And then pressing the new wheel bearing in, and hub bearing, and all that crap. But that will slide right on over. And then we'll do the exact same thing with the caliper as we did with the fronts. I'm going to remove this front shoe, which is held on with these two clips. You can take a pry bar, get it up under there, get it loose like so. There's little tabs on the back side that sit in these two holes. And then get my clamp out. Push that piston in like I did once before. See if I can reach. There we go. I turn it and I let it relax. I turn it, let it relax, let the fluid move. And then that brake pad just is held in with a few teeth that goes inside the hole for the piston. And let's say it. And I see. My stool keeps tottering because it's got 3 wheels on it. I lost a wheel somewhere. I don't know where the hell it went. Somehow might have lost it coming over here. But you just move this right and you want to tip over. But to get this back on, slide them tabs up over the calipers until it break 2 seats like that, and then put the caliper back on over the rotor. Make sure that your bleeder screw is up top, and these brakes you seat the bottom first. Maybe I don't have the bottom seated. What the hell? I know what's holding this. These pins for the sliders need to be moved outward, and there she is. Just check and make sure your brake pad, because there's like 2 teeth here, it'll sit over top of this mount, and then the next one's to sit up against this upper part of the caliper mount. Then take your pins like we did before, and I see. And I see. And get them started. And now the question is, did I lose my 10mm? And nope, still on the wrench. Surprising, huh? It's always a 10 and always a 13mm. Why is that? It's one of those questions that make you go, I just snug these up since they're such a small screw. You don't want to reek on them. And if you break them, you're SOL. You're getting and that's that. Okay, put the wheel and the lug nuts back on, and I don't know what they're supposed to be torqued at, but good and tight's good enough for me. And once you get the lug nuts, I'm going to re-torque them once I get it back on the ground. Jack it up, pull the jack stands out, and remember, before you move the vehicle, start the car, leave it in park, and pump your brakes until they get hard, because you gotta move those pistons into where they touch the brake shoes. If you throw it in gear and decide to take right off, you ain't gonna have brakes until you pump them a few times. By then you're against a tree, who knows what. But so pump your brakes and make sure you got a hard pedal. Alrighty, well, there you go. Front and back brake job. I didn't replace everything, but it needed it. But If you like my video, give me a thumbs up and not the finger. Remember to like and subscribe. Click that bell icon. That tells you when I put up another video. Leave a comment below. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.